Hi, I'm Desiree Aragon Nielsen,
Hello, I'm Andrea Dawn.
and we're back to talk about everything and nothing.
Everything and nothing, continuing on. Well, all night long.
All night, all night. We've got background vocals.
We do have background vocals.
It's pretty good.
Right on cue, too.
Right? I know. It's so good.
I know.
Another benefit of living at the Magical Mystery House, which is where we're recording from.
Yes.
And we just finished recording a 20 to 30 minute video, I guess. And because it was getting a little long, we stopped that and we're picking up the conversation where we left off, sort of, because I want to talk about this tea. So here at the table, we have some tea. And in the last video, I took a sip of the tea and it was really warm. So I took a teeny tiny baby sip so I could assess how warm it was. And then my second sip about, I don't know, we'll say a couple minutes later was, a little larger because I knew it was to temperature. What did you do?
I just went, oh, and then the other video I'm going, oh shit, ow, God, that burnt my mouth. And he's over here talking, I'm going, ah. But you wouldn't know that. I was trying to be all cool instead of going, ow!
If you go back to the video, you might be able to see what that moment was. But I was laughing because that's so us, right? We were talking about how you're a bit of a rule breaker. I'm a rule follower, right? And your all in is even different from my all in.
Yes.
I'm all in, but I'm, toe in and then the next toe and then the top of the foot and then the ankle. And you're like in the deep end going, woo, with your little, ducky wrapped around you, right?
I need a ducky for. I ain't wearing no ducky. I'm just going all in. Chunky donkey.
I guess I need the ducky.
Yeah. Not me.
No, of course not, right?
Right.
So I think it's a really good way to describe what we're talking about because we're talking about ascension and we're talking about the new earth and we're talking about this earth experience versus the new earth experience versus heaven and the beyond and whether those are the same or different. And for me, I'm willing to go baby step into it. I'm embracing this. I'm listening. I'm really trying to understand it and get my head around it. And you're all the way there in a lot of ways.
Yes.
Yeah.
If we don't practice this here and understand that any day before ascension, we just don't know truly when our last day is. And people go, well, don't you know? No, I don't know my own date of death. And yet, we all have a certain knowing. We have exit points. So whatever day I have chosen to exit, that's how we should be living no matter what.
As if that's coming in the very near future.
Yes.
Live every day like you're dying, meaning that you're telling people that you love them. Yes. You're living from a state of love, not out of obligation, but from a sense of total freedom and without constraint, which was our last topic.
Yes.
Okay.
So
but on that note, you said something because you said
I did.
You just said it.
I know.
Said if my last date is I'm dying and I die, you use the word death, which is a word we have not used a lot with this. But I heard it, and we can rewind the videotape and play it.
I know. As soon as I said it, I knew. It's again. Any of the sessions that I do, I just had one today, and I said to her, I go, I don't tell anybody anything that they don't already know. I just confirm. That's it. All the channeling that I get is confirming what you already know. We are dying to know, and I'm just as guilty as all of you are. Ask her. I'm always going, why? How? I'm talking to my guides. Well, why? Why would I do that? Why would I say that? So I question. And that's why I'm more than happy to give that clarity, direction, guidance, the information to channel to give that because it helps us. It helps us to go, yep, okay, keep going. The little engine that could, right? Just keep going so that we're reminded, because that's what it's about, remembering who we are. You're being reminded to continue on this path, this journey, because I'm gonna meet with Andrea Dawn and on this date, and she's gonna remind me I chose this and this is happening in my life. That's all I do. Talk to, whoever, you're being reminded. It's nothing new. Now, you might not like the information that you agreed to hear. And you might go, well, fuck her. I'm not doing that. No. Okay. It's not mine. I don't take it personal. It's all yours. It's your choice. Free will.
It is kind of funny how when we hear the things we want to hear, we're all, you're the best ever.
That's right.
Thank you. And then when you hear the things you don't want, it's like, oh my God, so bad. Right?
Yeah, I don't like her.
When neither one is actually the truth, because, and we've talked about this a lot, the possibilities are infinite. So there's this whole concept of psychic and being able to predict the future, but really the future is unknown.
Yes.
Because in every moment I can make a change and my set of dominoes then changes.
Yes,
I think
it does.
about those people that make those big domino like roller coasters and things where they take a whole room and they have these little square tiles lined up and you knock the first one and all the dominoes fall. And they have like a room full of where it takes like 10 minutes or 15 minutes for all the dominoes to fall because they put so many. Well, with the infinite possibilities in our life, it's as if you have millions and millions of room full of dominoes. And so as you hit one, it sets in motion a whole bunch of other possibilities. And then you might tap a different one and all of a sudden you're in another room of dominoes going a completely different direction.
You just explained the universe, right? We say the universe says yes always.
Yes.
Because we are putting into motion through our infinite possibilities of all these possibilities. So of course it's yes.
I'm thinking of the story of Jim Carrey when he was a young comedian. I don't even know if he was an actor yet when he first did this, but probably because he put a check in his wallet for $1 million. Right? It's
it was 10 million.
Was it 10 million?
Yeah, I think it was 10 million.
Oh, I'm thinking small again. So he puts a check in his wallet for whatever, 1 million, 10 million. And he ended up, for one of his movies, actually getting paid that dollar amount where the check was written in his name to that dollar amount, exactly like what he'd carried around his wallet up to that point.
Yes.
An example.
And now look at him.
Yeah. But it can be a lot of really small stuff, too. Like that's an example of like manifesting something financially, but the things that we put in place. He hit a domino. He hit a domino, and then he followed that domino to another. Yes. And then he decided which one to hit there. Yes. And then followed it to another. Yes. He could have easily also gone in a completely different direction. Obviously, he's a very spiritual person.
Very spiritual.
So he could have decided that he was going to give his wallet away with that check in it and go on a quest and was never seen again.
Never seen again.
Yeah. But his choices were to follow that through all the way.
I know it's just interesting being at my daughter's, and we were waiting for my son-in-law, and we had Netflix up, and something about, I think it's comedians, something about getting coffee, or I can't remember, and it's Jerry Seinfeld, and he drives around. We only saw the one. Well, the one happened to have Jim Carrey in it.
Oh yeah, and he interviews other comedians.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we watched that one, and
I didn't know that was on Netflix.
Yeah, I didn't. I didn't either.
Isn't it interesting that she watches Netflix? That she has all this insight about ascension and she's watching Netflix?
We were eating. We wanted
you
something.
You eat too?
Yes, I do manage to do that. And, as I'm listening to him and I'm thinking, how people have already deemed him, I can't remember, some award shows or something that talking to the people. And he's saying, well, you don't exist and I don't exist. And it's like, okay, Jim Carrey's lost it. Cuckoo. He's out there. And I'm like, Jim Carrey, I relate to you. I can't paint like you. But, oh my God. Well, I could if I had put that domino into motion.
Yeah, there you go. Claim it. Right?
Yeah. Nobody ain't got time for that.
You have to.
I'll leave that to somebody else
who has the love for it.
That's right. Yeah,
she can do that. Our resident artist has a love for it.
People. Yes.
So actually, you're bringing up another conversation, which I wonder how we're doing on time. How are we doing?
We are good.
Okay, good. Because a real point of contention for our resident artist was the day that we had the conversation that nothing was real. Boy, did she get pissed off.
Surprised you didn't leave the house.
I know. I think she wanted to make an escape.
Oh my gosh, of course. What is she over there drawing?
What is she drawing?
It looks like a big eye.
Okay, we don't know what it is. I guess she'll show us. She'll come put it on camera when she's ready.
A big eye, if you turn it that way, maybe it's a yoni looking at it this way.
I thought it was maybe one of the eggs.
No.
One of the earths.
I asked to be shown the grid.
Oh, the ley lines.
Ooh. All I'm seeing is a dragon eye.
Interesting. So she says she asked to be shown the ley lines, what we referred to in the last video as the matrix.
Yes.
Which is an energetic field that lives or resides with the earth as we know it today.
Yes.
And so our resident artist is hanging out with us in the room listening to us, and she asked to be shown the grid. And so right now she's doing like a channeled sketch in which she's drawing. She doesn't know what it is either. We're looking at it right now. It looks like an eye. I wondered if it was the egg. And she says, well, I asked to be shown the grid lines. And so
we'll see what she comes
We'll see what it is. Yeah.
Maybe we'll show you at the end. If she's done.
Or even wherever she's at in her progress. I think she'll show us. Maybe. No pressure.
No pressure.
Well,
Stop
we have to be done by the time somebody gets ready this morning. I just knocked you in the boob. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, darn those things sticking out.
Stop sticking them out. Okay, so nothing's real. Really pissed her off.
Yes. It's a very... It's nothing is real because it's created. We're all creating it. Going back to the one, the new earth, being all in energy, having a glorified body, it means that your energy is just more noticeable, or because you recognize
you were going to use the word pronounced.
Yes, I was. Thank you.
Why did you stop it?
Because I couldn't get it out.
Oh.
I was what's that word again? It sounds like announce. So
your energy is more pronounced on the new earth.
Yes.
Because it's safe for your energy to be pronounced. Because we're taught here that if you are fully yourself, that from the time we're very small, don't do that. Don't go over here. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. And so we're taught not to be ourselves from very early ages.
Very early. I have a grandson, and
I've heard you say no.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I say it. When he pulls my little baby hairs, okay. Those.
And they hoop earrings.
I might. Oh yeah, rip those out too. Allowing him to, and I'm going to use this one because we've talked about sexual abuse already. But even at that age, him touching himself, he's not aware, but there is something.
Well, he's an infant, right?
He's an infant.
Yeah.
And so, though that initial time, it was like, oh no, don't do that. And I thought, who am I? Right?
Yeah.
It's because
you mean like the first time you see like a child sort of start to grab on themselves, it's like, hey, don't do that.
Yes.
We automatically say all parts of your body don't exist. Those parts have to be ignored.
Yes.
And so I would think if you were abused earlier in your life, you would be like, what would the word be? You'd want to be overly protective to anyone's private body parts. Because
you don't want them to be abused.
But how does that relate to freedoms that they should have with their body parts? Do you see? And how does that relate to being not real, if none of it's real? Answer us that, Andrea Dawn.
Oh, we're done here. Because it's just not real. The understanding that it's not real and yet we're having the experience, it really is... I don't want to get too much into it, but I love who we're going to have on tomorrow, is saying it's expansive oneness. So it's one, and yet there's an expansion of the one. I can remember when I was studying the Bible, and they used the word emanate. So they would say, do you believe that the Holy Spirit emanates from God? Well, yes, because it's a part of an expansion. It's an expansion of the one wholeness. Mm-hmm. And, okay, well, we don't believe that. So there's the oneness of God, and then there's the Trinity belief. And yet I thought, I get the whole separation, because we're having this experience.
So we two are separate.
Yes.
Yet we're one.
Yet we're one. So right now we're just in an expansive part of our oneness. So we are having these experiences to get us to this place of ascension, to enlightenment, as Buddha called it, to, where we're back to being in that whole, that oneness. And what gets us there?
So one of the things that gets us there is living without constraint. And so what I hear you saying is with your grandson, you are just trying to pay attention to many old things that you might have been told or believed, and you're just trying not to perpetuate beliefs that might be restricting, recognizing that he'll still have his own experiences.
Absolutely.
You're just trying to make sure that you don't stop him from knowing himself.
Exactly.
It's not really about protecting or not protecting. It's just you're saying it should be fine for infants, children, and even adults to know themselves. But that's a part of the experience of being human. And then the other things that happen are part of the experiences that they may choose or
of course we
have designed, which I think it's a good time to talk about divine by design.
Oh my gosh.
And so that's going to be a whole nother topic I feel like we should come across. But okay, let's stay with this real, not real thing.
Going back to it's not real because you are already one. You're one in a whole, even though you're expanded. So what brings us all together, and it's the only definition that universal people understand, and that's love, because it's not a defined word. It's a being. When we are love, there's no conditions, there's no judgment. It's an unconditional, experience that you have for every single human being. There's this in love that we would call it. Again, it's just a definition of a word. It's an identity. It's just a different kind of experience. And you might have that with more than one person. So when we come back to this wholeness of oneness of love, one of the mantras that you learn is I'm perfect, whole, and complete. I mean, in some way, variation of that, that's a very common one. And what does that mean? I'm perfect in oneness. I'm whole in my oneness, right? I'm complete. I'm back to being in that one. And yet if we are in our very expansive place, then we have anger, we have wars even, we have fighting and aggressiveness. And I'm not going to say that's all the male energy that, and yet they carries those tendencies. So the feminine energy is that the love and compassion. That's where we need to have the balance. So we need to, people say, oh, there's tough love. Yes, there's tough love, right? So it's out of this love that you, would raise your kids in a sense. We don't tell them what to do because they have to have their experience. We're just a bunch of sperm and egg donors and they chose us. And so we have to let them have their experience. And yet there's a loving way to bring them up so that they learn that they're okay with who they are. And without parents, society, right? All the media and all of that, right? The more you watch it, the more you feel that that's how it's supposed to be.
I mean, just reading all the baby books that tell you how you're supposed to be a parent.
Right?
I remember when my first child was born, we didn't sleep for the whole first year. She just, she was miserable at night. She just couldn't sleep. And if you walked her around, we'd go around the block outside with the baby Bjorn, the baby carrier, and take her for these walks. And then finally she would settle in and maybe sleep for an hour. Maybe 2. And then she'd wake right back up and you're like, right? Nothing like the textbook said about what to do with babies. Meanwhile, the second one was born. And the second one was textbook baby. Everything they said about sleep and how to put your baby to sleep, the second one was followed everything that way. I always said, if I had thought that the books were accurate and I'd had that second baby first, I would have thought I was the perfect mother, right?
Right.
But because my 2 babies were so different, it really allowed me to see that me being the same person, I have a completely different set of whatever that is, ahas, mirroring opportunities, growth opportunities with each child separately.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than feeling like I have mastery over anything
Right.
as a parent. I'm always, from our yoga practice today, we did yoga with Adrienne off of YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Adrienne! And she talked about having a beginner's mind. Truly, as a parent, I feel that way all the time. Like, I just am... It's starting new again. Every day I'm starting new again. Some days I, give myself an F. Some days I give myself a B. And all the time I try to just remember that it's love.
It is love.
It's love.
It is love.
Right? But if it's none of it's real, why do I get so attached, especially when it comes to parenting? Not that you can talk about my psychoanalysis of it, but why do we, if we know it's not real, why do we still, why are you still
even having a reaction to anything.
A reaction to anything. If we know it's all made up, we know that we designed this, which again we'll talk about in another episode, but if we know we design it, then, and we know it's not real, what?
So, if we could grow up like Mowgli.
Oh, Mowgli from Jungle Book.
Right. Not realizing that he's human.
Mm-hmm. With just the bare necessities.
That's right.
Yeah, because they had everything they needed because they had love.
Yes. And so we are not that. We're growing up, literally with like boss babies. Mm-hmm. Because we're so afraid of being judged. And so...
Oh my gosh, right?
Yeah. You don't want to be deemed a bad mother. You're going back to work, but then who are you to stay home?
You're supposed to stay home. You're supposed to have your own life.
Right.
You're supposed to put your child to sleep this way. You're supposed to put your child to sleep that way. You're supposed to, do this with this activity in this way and that way. And it's not just parenting. It's how we show up as employees in the workforce. Yes. It's all over the place. I wonder if part of the reason that we take it so seriously is because we did want to have the experience of being human. And so we're diving in to the experience of being human.
Yes, we are.
Right?
Yes.
So now I even understand my tentativeness in parenting. It's because of my tentativeness in everything. And you, of course, just dove right in and became super mom, right?
I had to.
Right, of course. You had to control everything, right? And my form of control is that tentativeness. Do I go this way? Do I go that way? Right. But it's just because it's us trying to experience the dynamic of being
Absolutely. Human. What is the name of that? Somebody had mentioned it before. It's an older movie. I've never seen it, but I always love the title. But now what is it? The being of humanness or something.
I don't know.
Right. You guys weren't in the conversation, obviously. Darn it.
I wasn't there. I don't know.
If she was there, she would have remembered.
Maybe you could add in the comments if you know what movie it is, because I don't know.
And not the selfishness of being human or the human. I don't know. But anyway, the title just always cracks me up because it's talking about us already having this coming out with is this newborn, my grandson, right? Watching it and having. They always say, it's fun to be a grandparent because you learn from your mistakes. And yet there's no mistakes. So now I just have the opportunity to relax a lot more.
To enjoy your mistakes.
Right? Yeah. It's just more fun this way. So having it where it's reminding ourselves, this is all just an experience. It's not real because I'm already part of that oneness. So what are we here for? If we are if we are one, and the Bible says do unto others as you would do unto yourself, because if you are one, you would want to have these same exchanges as we want to have it's about love, it's about caring, it's about sharing, it's all those cliche words and utopia.
I mean, one of the most freeing thoughts that I have is if I suffer, I'm causing suffering for others.
Yes.
And so I free myself of suffering because I love others enough and I want them to experience freedom too.
Absolutely.
Good place to stop for today.
Yes, it is. Yes,
so thank you for being here. Yes. Again, we want to remind you that we share these conversations only for the purpose of creating dialogue, not because we think we have all the answers or we even think that there's any one right way to be or think or believe.
Right. Even with the channelings that I do, because of free will, all the answers are always there to us because there's no wrong path, there's no wrong way, there's no mistakes. So of course it's all perfect.
What's the Andrea Dawn quote from years ago with our first retreat experience together after?
Oh yeah, what was that?
It was, you know what you know, and you can't unknow it.
I love that quote.
Yeah, I know, it's so good. So remember, you already know.
Yes, you already know. So thank you for being here. Good night.
Bye.